The tension in the studio was electric long before cameras started rolling. Jennifer Hudson's talk show, The Jennifer Hudson Show, had built a reputation for its easygoing warmth, a mix of laughter, music, and heartfelt conversations that left audiences smiling. But today felt different. Something in the air was sharp, expectant. The crew whispered that this particular episode would be one to remember. The guest, Denzel Washington, a Hollywood icon, a man of unmatched intensity and respect, but also one known for being brutally honest. When Denzel walked onto the set, the crowd roared. The standing ovation lasted longer than usual, and Jennifer beamed as she clapped along. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said with her signature enthusiasm, "the one and only, Mr. Denzel Washington." Denzel gave a charming nod, that classic grin lighting up his face as he waved to the crowd. For the first few minutes, it was all smiles, talk of movies, mutual admiration, and laughter about life on set. Jennifer's questions were polished but playful, and Denzel answered with that measured calm that had made him one of the most respected men in the business. Then came the turn. Jennifer leaned forward, her tone gentle but probing. "Now, Denzel," she began, "you've had such a powerful career, but there's always talk about your intensity on set, that maybe you can be a bit difficult for some directors to handle. What do you say to that?" The audience chuckled softly, expecting Denzel to laugh it off. But he didn't. His expression shifted, not angry, just sharper. He leaned back, eyes focused. "You know, Jennifer," he said slowly, "people love to use that word, difficult. Especially when it's about someone who refuses to settle for less than excellence." Jennifer nodded carefully, still smiling. "Of course, and I think your passion is what's made you legendary. But some people," he cut her off smoothly. "Some people," he said, his voice deep and deliberate, "like to call a man difficult when he's a black man who knows his worth. That's not difficulty, that's integrity." The audience murmured. Some clapped. Jennifer blinked, momentarily caught off guard by the seriousness in his tone. She tried to guide the moment back toward balance. "I hear that," she said softly, "and I respect that. But as someone who's been through the industry myself, I also know how stories can get twisted. I just think people want to hear your truth in your own words." Denzel smiled faintly, but it wasn't warm. "The truth," he repeated. "The truth is, Hollywood doesn't like honesty. They like obedience. They like people who smile when the cameras roll and stay quiet when the lights go off." Jennifer's posture stiffened. "I don't know about that," she replied. "I've built a show on honesty, real talk, real stories, real people." Denzel chuckled, but it wasn't the charming kind. "Real, Jennifer, we're sitting under 20 lights with 6 cameras pointed at us. You call that real?" The audience went silent. Even the air seemed to thicken. Jennifer's smile faltered, replaced by something firmer. "I call it real because I bring my heart here. Every day, I've been through the struggle, I've lost, I've learned, and I've grown. That's what people connect to. So don't tell me this isn't real." Denzel tilted his head slightly, the respect in his eyes mixed with challenge. "Then why ask me questions like that? You came looking for sound bites, not soul." Jennifer's jaw tightened. "No, sir. I came looking for conversation. You're the one turning it into confrontation." A low murmur spread through the crowd. The tension had now crossed into visible discomfort. Still, neither of them backed down. Denzel's presence was commanding, but Jennifer wasn't intimidated, she was anchored in her own strength. He leaned forward, his voice low. "You ever think that maybe people don't want truth? Maybe they just want a show?" Jennifer's reply was sharp, immediate. "Then maybe they're in the wrong place, because this isn't about fake smiles and forced moments. This is my space, Mr. Washington, and in my space, I expect respect." That line landed like thunder. The audience gasped softly, eyes darting between them. Denzel stared at her for a moment, then gave a tight smile. "Respect goes both ways, Miss Hudson." The pause that followed felt eternal. Cameras rolled. The director, frozen in the control room, mouthed silently to cut to commercial, but Jennifer didn't move. She stood, microphone in hand, her voice calm but firm. "If this isn't working for you, maybe we should end this here." Denzel rose from his chair. "Maybe we should." Gasps filled the room. The audience watched, stunned, as Denzel adjusted his jacket, gave a curt nod, and turned toward the backstage exit. The cameras caught every second, his steady walk, Jennifer's composed face, the shocked expressions around them. When he disappeared behind the curtain, Jennifer finally exhaled, looking out at the audience. "Well," she said softly, "that's live television for you." The crowd gave a hesitant laugh, unsure if it was okay to clap. The band awkwardly began to play, fading to a commercial break as producers scrambled behind the scenes. Jennifer lowered her mic and sat back down, her heart still pounding. She had just stood toe-to-toe with Denzel Washington, and sent him off her stage. But deep inside, she couldn't help but wonder if that moment, raw and unscripted, was the most real her show had ever been. The fallout from the altercation was immediate, unstoppable, and louder than anyone in Jennifer Hudson's production team could have imagined. By dawn the next morning, the clip of Denzel Washington walking off the Jennifer Hudson Show had been viewed millions of times. Social media was ablaze. Headlines filled every entertainment feed. Denzel storms out after on-air showdown with Jennifer Hudson. And Jennifer Hudson stands her ground against Hollywood legend. The story was everywhere. Jennifer woke up to her phone buzzing non-stop, messages from producers, friends, and even celebrities. Some praised her for standing firm. Others warned her that she might have gone too far with a man as revered as Denzel Washington. Sitting at her kitchen table, coffee in hand, she watched the clip herself for the first time since it aired. Seeing it replayed, the sharp tone, the silence, the moment he stood, made her chest tighten. She hadn't meant for things to go that far. But she also knew she hadn't done anything wrong. "I respected him," she told her producer later that morning during a meeting. "But I wasn't going to let him talk down to me. Not on my stage." The producer nodded carefully. "You were in control. You handled it like a pro." "Still, the network's nervous." Jennifer sighed. "The network always was. They want safe television," she said quietly, "but the truth isn't always safe." Meanwhile, Denzel's team had gone into damage control. Within hours, his publicist released a short, diplomatic statement. "Mr. Washington respects Ms. Hudson and wishes her continued success." The exchange was a passionate discussion between two artists who care deeply about their craft. It sounded calm, even noble, but behind closed doors, insiders whispered that Denzel was furious. According to those present backstage, he had muttered something about disrespect and showbiz fakery before leaving the studio entirely. A few crew members claimed he'd slammed his dressing room door, others said he'd simply grabbed his coat and walked out into the Los Angeles sun without another word. Whatever the truth, the world had already decided its narrative, the calm, confident host versus the unfiltered Hollywood titan. Within days, every talk show, podcast, and gossip site had an opinion. Fans of Denzel defended him fiercely. "He's a perfectionist," one tweet read. "He's about truth, not cheap TV moments." But Jennifer's supporters were just as loud. "She handled him like a queen, grace under fire." And Jennifer Hudson didn't flinch. That's power. The internet turned the showdown into an event. Memes, edits, even dramatic reenactments flooded TikTok. Someone slowed the footage down and added an orchestral score. Another user added text captions like, "When two alphas collide." Jennifer laughed at some of it, but late at night, when the lights were off, she couldn't help but replay the moment over and over in her mind. Had she been too sharp? Could she have de-escalated? She knew she had spoken with truth, but truth, she reminded herself, comes with a price. 1 week later, her team received a surprising message. Denzel wanted to meet privately. No cameras, no press, just a conversation. At first, Jennifer hesitated. She didn't know if he wanted to clear the air or confront her again. But curiosity, and a desire for closure, made her agree. They met at a quiet restaurant in downtown Los Angeles, the kind of place where famous people could talk without being recognized. Denzel arrived first, wearing a plain black jacket, hat pulled low. When Jennifer entered, he stood up, offering a polite nod. "Jennifer," he said simply. "Denzel," she replied, matching his calm tone. They sat. For a moment, silence hung between them, not angry, just heavy. Finally, Denzel spoke. "You handled yourself well. I didn't like the way things went down, but I respect that you didn't back down." Jennifer smiled faintly. "I appreciate that. I didn't want to fight. I just wanted to have a real conversation." He nodded slowly. "You got one." For the next hour, they talked, really talked. About how interviews had changed, how authenticity often got twisted into entertainment. Denzel admitted that he'd come into the studio already on edge. "I've been dealing with this same question for 20 years, he said. "Every time someone asks about being difficult, I hear something else, like I have to apologize for caring too much. Jennifer listened carefully. I understand that. People said the same about me after American Idol, that I was too bold, too confident. But I learned that you can't shrink yourself to make people comfortable. Denzel smiled, a genuine one this time. You've got fire, he said. And that's rare. Don't lose it. When they parted, there was mutual respect in their eyes, a silent understanding between two people who had lived under the same harsh spotlight. The next day, Jennifer opened her show with a heartfelt message to her audience. Sometimes, she said softly, conversations don't go the way we expect. But even when tempers rise, there's value in honesty. I have the highest respect for Mr. Denzel Washington. We both care deeply about truth, and sometimes truth comes wrapped in fire. The audience erupted in applause. Clips of that monologue went viral too, not for drama, but for grace. For the first time since the altercation, the headlines softened. Jennifer Hudson extends olive branch, with class. Later that week, Denzel was spotted attending a charity gala. When reporters asked about the incident, he smiled and said, "All love. Jennifer's a powerhouse. We're good." And just like that, the feud that had set the internet ablaze became a story of reconciliation. It was proof that strength didn't have to mean hostility, and that two powerful voices could clash, break, and still find harmony again. But one thing was certain. The day Jennifer Hudson kicked Denzel Washington off her show would forever live in pop culture memory, not just as a viral moment, but as the spark that lit a rare, real conversation about respect, truth, and the power of standing your ground.